Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. We've got a really fascinating one for you all today.
Yeah, really, really fascinating.
We're going to be looking at this story of just incredible resilience
hmm
and really kind of looking at what it means to dedicate your life to a cause.
Yeah, it's a story that really, I think, takes us deep into the heart of a really long-standing conflict and
hmm
and lets us see it through the eyes of someone who lived it firsthand.
Exactly. And you'll be hearing the voice of Mohammed al-Tous, who's known as the Dean of Palestinian Prisoners. And he was recently released after spending 40 years.
Wow,
Yes, 4 decades
that's a long time.
in Israeli prisons.
It's hard to even grasp 40 years behind bars. Like, just think
Right.
about
Yeah.
all the things that have happened in the world in that time, all the personal milestones missed. It's just amazing. It's a real testament to the strength of the human spirit that someone can go through that.
Yeah, and Altus was only 30 years old when he was arrested back in 1985.
Okay.
And he had a pretty simple life. You know, he was a painter, a husband, and a father to a 3-year-old son.
I can't even imagine having to leave behind a 3-year-old child and then decades later seeing him not as that little boy, but as a grown man with children of his own.
Yeah, and the interview we're going to be taking a look at today really captures that raw emotion of that reunion. You can just hear it in Altus's voice as he describes embracing his son for the first time after all those years.
Wow, I bet.
Really powerful moment.
Yeah, it sounds like it, but it's important to remember that this isn't just a personal story, right? This is a glimpse into the human cost of a conflict that's been going on for generations.
Right. And Altus talks about the harsh realities of prison life and the psychological and physical toll it took on him, especially in the aftermath of the 2023 war and under the policies of then Security Minister Ben Yevir.
And he really paints a stark picture of the conditions inside the prison. The one detail that really stood out to me was his account of the guards being instructed to only respond if a prisoner died.
Yeah, it's chilling to think about that.
Yeah.
The level of dehumanization inherent in that kind of policy.
It's a tactic for sure. It's used to instill fear and just break the spirit of the prisoners. But despite these conditions, Al-Tous and his fellow prisoners, they found ways to resist.
He describes how they would smuggle radios into the prison to keep up with news from the outside world,
Oh.
even during periods of heightened restrictions. And this allowed them to follow events like the Hamas operation, Flood of Al-Aqsa,
Right.
which, for those who may not know, was that Hamas operation in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they went to such lengths to stay informed, even risking punishment, that says a lot about their resilience and their just refusal to be completely cut off from the world.
Yeah, it makes you wonder what it must have been like to hear about those events unfolding from inside a prison cell, like what kind of hope or despair did it bring?
Right. It probably brought a mix of both. On the one hand, staying informed gave them a sense of connection to the outside world, a feeling that they were still part of the struggle,
Mhm.
But on the other hand, it also likely served as like a constant reminder of the limitations of their situation, their inability to directly participate.
And speaking of the struggle, Altus is very vocal about his belief in the importance of Palestinian unity,
Yeah.
particularly for the future.
And it's interesting that he acknowledges the disagreements within the Palestinian community. He's not shying away from the complexity of the situation
Yeah.
at all.
Instead of pretending there's this simple unified front, he stresses that finding common ground, despite those differences, is absolutely vital.
Which raises the question, how does he envision achieving this unity? Like, what concrete steps does he propose?
Well, that's where we really start to see how Altus's thinking has evolved over his 40 years of imprisonment. He offers some really poignant advice to his son and grandchildren, urging them to focus on political action rather than armed resistance.
Yeah, that's a pretty significant shift, isn't it? It really makes you think about the experiences that led him to this conclusion.
It does. After 4 decades of witnessing the cycle of violence and the toll it takes, it seems like his perspective has really shifted towards finding a different path forward.
Yeah, he seems to be advocating for a more strategic long-term approach. It's not about abandoning the cause, but recognizing the need for a different kind of struggle.
Yeah, he specifically stresses the importance of political engagement, of raising their voices and participating in the political process.
Which, begs the question, what does that even look like in a context as complex as the Israeli-Palestinian conflict?
Right, and what are the challenges of pursuing political action in a system where Palestinians often feel marginalized and their voices unheard?
Yeah, I mean, Al-Tous doesn't offer all the answers, but his message is clear. The next generation needs to find new ways to fight for their rights and their future.
And it's a message that resonates far beyond the specific context of this conflict.
Mm.
It speaks to the broader question of how to effectively advocate for change in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles.
For sure, his story is a powerful reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can endure, and that hope can fuel the search for new strategies, new ways to resist, and new paths towards a better future.
It's remarkable, isn't it? After experiencing such hardship, such a loss of freedom, he still has this unwavering belief in the power of his people to create change.
Yeah, it's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the ability to find hope even in the most dire circumstances. And it makes you wonder, what would it take for someone to spend 40 years of their life fighting for a cause?
That's almost unimaginable, isn't it?
Yeah.
To sacrifice so much, to endure such hardship, all for a belief in something bigger than yourself.
It speaks to a level of dedication and conviction that's hard to fathom, and it challenges us to think about our own values and what we would be willing to sacrifice for.
Al-Tous' story also shines light on something that's easy to forget when we're talking about these global conflicts the human faces behind the headlines.
It's so easy to get caught up in the, abstract political debates, the statistics, the geopolitical analysis, but we can't lose sight of the fact that these conflicts have a profound impact on real people's lives.
Exactly. Al-Tous was just a regular guy, a painter, a father, a husband, and then his life was completely upended by forces beyond his control.
Right.
It forces us to confront the question, what if that were us?
What if we were suddenly thrust into a situation where our freedom, our safety, our very lives were at stake? It's a sobering thought.
It is, and it makes his message all the more powerful.
Yeah.
His call for unity, his plea for understanding transcends the specifics of this particular conflict.
It's a universal message about the need for empathy, for compassion, for recognizing the shared humanity that binds us all.
Even in the face of deep divisions and seemingly insurmountable obstacles, he's urging us to find common ground, to listen to each other, to work together towards a more just and peaceful world.
And that's a message that resonates deeply no matter what your background or beliefs may be. It's a message that calls on each of us to reflect on our own roles in the world and how we can contribute to creating positive change.
Al-Tous' story is a powerful testament to the enduring human capacity for hope, even in the darkest of times.
And his message challenges us to find that hope within ourselves, to never give up on the pursuit of a better future, no matter how difficult the path may seem.
His experience also highlights the fact that the personal is inherently political. His individual journey is inextricably linked to the broader struggle for Palestinian rights and self-determination.
It's a reminder that even seemingly individual choices and actions can have ripple effects that extend far beyond our immediate circles.
It makes you think about the power of one voices, one story, to inspire, mobilize others.
And it raises questions about how we can each use our own voices, our own platforms, to amplify the stories of those who are often marginalized and silenced.
His call for political action, for engagement, for finding new ways to fight for justice, is a challenge to each of us to consider how we can participate in the pursuit of a better world.
It's a reminder that we all have a role to play, no matter how big or small.
His story leaves us with a lot to ponder, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It makes you question your own beliefs, your own commitments, and the ways in which you choose to engage with the world.
Al-Tous' journey is an invitation to delve deeper, to explore the complexities of this conflict, and to consider the broader implications for humanity as a whole.
It's a call to action, urging us to move beyond passive observation and to actively participate in the pursuit of justice and peace.
His story, though, rooted in a specific context, offers universal lessons about resilience, hope, and the power of the human spirit to endure and to inspire change.
It's a story that stays with you long after you've heard it, prompting you to think differently, to act differently, and to embrace the possibility of a brighter future.
Yeah, it really does. And it challenges us to consider what we would be willing to sacrifice for our own beliefs. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the sheer scale of these global conflicts, to think that, our individual actions don't really matter. But Al-Tous' story is a reminder that change often starts at the individual level.
Absolutely. Every act of courage, every voice raised against injustice contributes to a larger movement.
And he also stresses the importance of dialogue and understanding, even with those who hold opposing views. He actually encourages us to listen to different perspectives to try and find that common ground we were talking about earlier.
Which is incredibly powerful, considering everything he's been through.
Yeah.
In a world that often feels so polarized and divided, his call for unity and understanding is a breath of fresh air.
It really is. And his interview gives us a glimpse into a world many of us will never experience firsthand. It's a world of immense hardship and sacrifice, but also one of incredible resilience and hope.
And by sharing his story, he invites us to connect with that world, to understand its complexities, and to consider how we can contribute to creating a more just and peaceful future.
So as we conclude this deep dive, we leave you with this. What would you be willing to sacrifice for what you believe in?
And how can you apply the lessons of resilience and hope that we've discussed today to your own life and your own pursuit of a better world?
That's something for all of us to think about. Thanks for joining us on this incredibly moving journey. Until next time, keep diving deep.